everyone's all right. Welcome back. This is our meeting in English. Every second Monday of the month we have our meetings in English. Tonight we're going to have our last meeting of 2023, and we'll be back next month for another meeting in English. So, but tonight we're going to have Nancy will start in a few minutes to read a message from the book Our Daily Bread, make a comment, or she said she's not going to make a comment. There's something that she needs to do outside. And then right after that, I'll be here to talk a little bit about the Gospel according to Spiritism. Tonight we're going to talk about chapter number 13, items 7 and 8. And as we are studying the whole Gospel in sequence, so we are still on chapter 13, which is about halfway through the Gospel according to Spiritism. So we still have quite a long while to go. But in Portuguese, we're actually finishing the Gospel. So right at the beginning of 2024, we're going to restart the Gospel to study it all over again. It takes a few years to go through it. So, and since we don't have a very good memory, we will not remember what was said, so that we have to be reminded of the lessons every year. Almost 5 years, right? Yeah. So before we start, so let's do our prayer, and so we can continue with our meeting by raising our thoughts and thinking of our dear God, the one that created us, that gives us life, gives us love, gives us support to continue with our own lives through our struggles and through our happiness. We would like to thank this Creator, thank him or her for the opportunity of being here tonight. Not only here at this place, but here on this earth, here living, here at this time, the right time for us to learn, for us to love, for us to learn to live a better life. And may his blessings, may her blessings touch us within our minds, but also within our hearts, so that not only we can understand the message, but more importantly, help us, dear God, to understand it, to feel it, so that this message of love, of light, and of hope can flow through us, through our thoughts, through our words, but also, and most importantly, through our actions. So help us and support us, for us to become more and more beings of light and beings of love. With your love and your permission, we start tonight's meeting. So be it. So here comes Nancy.
Strengthening the disciples and encouraging them to remain true to the faith. We must go through many hardships to enter the kingdom of God. Jesus, Acts 14:22. The gospel gospel fools one in its teachings. The preoccupations of the believers intending to suborn the divine forces is vulgar, but it will not be at the price of many masses, many hymns, and numerous psychic spiritual sessions that the individual will affect the sublime acquisition of lofty spirituality. Naturally, all edificating practice must be taken advantage of as a helpful element. However, every human being is compelled in his personal efforts toward illumination. The glad tidings do not distribute indulgences at the world's price, and each person encounters innumerable paths toward ascension. Temples and instructors multiply, and each one offers parcels of help or assistance in the orientation service. However, the entrance and possession of eternal inheritance is verified by way of just testimonies. This is not accidental. It is a necessary and logical measure. No rare statues are improvised without the action of the chisel, just as the wheat is not picked unless the soil has been tilled. More than a few students are accustomed to interpreting certain advice from the gospel as excessive exhortation to suffering. However, what appears to them to be an obsession because of the pain is imperative for the education of the soul for eternal life. There will not be one individual able to find infinite estuary of the divine energy without undergoing the tribulations of earth. Personality without a struggle of the planetary crust is a narrow soul, only work and self-sacrifice, difficulties and obstacles as elements for progress and personal improvement can give the individual truthful assessment of the grandeur. Thank you very much.
And I'm back. Thank you. Thank you, Nancy, for the message. And I'm going to start by rereading the first sentence of Nancy's message. Well, the translation that I have here is probably a little different than the ones that you have there, but hopefully it's not that much of a difference. So it's message 159 from the book Our Daily Bread, and the first sentence is, "The gospel deceives no one about what it teaches." I hope it's close enough to what you have there. So Emmanuel makes a comment saying that the gospel. And what is the gospel? The gospel is the teachings of Jesus. And thank you. The gospel fools no one in its teachings. It's basically the same idea. So the gospel is contained in what we call the Bible, the Holy Bible, and is usually taken as the teachings of Jesus. Jesus used to call this also the good news, what we also call it in Portuguese the same way. So it's the good news. It's not the news that come from the world, but it's the good news. It's the news about the good, the news about the kingdom that he came to bring to us. But I find that this sentence that Emmanuel tells us about the gospel fools no one in its teachings in this translation, or in another translation, the gospel deceives no one about what it teaches. To be a very, very, how can I say this? To be a very hard statement to make, but to me, a very true statement. Why am I emphasizing this? I'm emphasizing this because as we go through life, we see many different churches with many different interpretations, with many different teachings, with many different takes on stuff. And that would be apparently a paradox in what Emmanuel wants to say here, because he says that it fools no one in what it teaches. But if it fools no one, why do we have so many different people interpreting the message in so many different ways? If we have the sun is out there, but it's night now, why don't we see the sun? We don't see the sun because the sun is shining on the other side of the earth. And then we are on the area where the sun doesn't get to us. So we will not see the sun. When the sun is out, or it's day for us, it's dark for another person, and vice versa. The sun shines for everyone. Even for those who don't see the sun is still shining. If I'm inside the house and the glasses of all my windows and doors have a certain tint to them, the sun will be different on the inside than what's on the outside. So what does that tell me? That tells me that the sun is still outside. The gospel is still outside. However, the way I take the gospel is different. Why? Because we have different positions. We have different maturity. We have a different glass throughout we see, right? There's this book. It was very famous in Portuguese. I think it's an American book or an American story, but I'm not totally positive about it. Maybe it is, and if it is, just let me know if you guys know. It's about this girl. That's her name, at least in Portuguese, is Poliana, and she sees the world through her naive eyes. And to her, everything is a bed of roses, everything is pink, everything is marvelous, then we ask, is it really? Meaning, depending on how we take a look, depending on how much I know about the world, depending on how my look upon the world is, I can take whatever message and interpret that message and make that message a different message for myself. And I can use that as an excuse to do whatever I want, to behave however I want. And that's what makes it hard to really find the clearest explanation of what the gospel sometimes wants to tell us. Because we have to go through layers of explanations sometimes to get to a certain point. But Emmanuel, what he wants us to understand is that it does not want to deceive us. It does not want to make us don't understand it. It does not want to fool ourselves or make ourselves be fools by making us act in the wrong way. What the gospel wants to do, what the message of the gospel wants to do, is to provide us a guidance for us to walk in the right or in the correct path or in the righteous path. So that's why he starts by saying that the gospel deceives no one about what it teaches. The gospel fools no one, does not want to fool anybody. The gospel wants us to know that it's whatever it is teaching, it is the right path for us to follow. However, sometimes, because we are still children, because we are still childish, we want to, and that's what he says right after that. And I think you will understand why I want to make a few comments on this, because it will attach in a certain way to what I'm going to talk about in the gospel here. He says right after that, he says, the preoccupation of believers trying to bribe, trying to buy, trying to give something back to God by saying, oh God, if I do this, can you do that? Or can you do this if I do this? And having that back and forth is quite worrisome. And I'm going to stop at this point here. Otherwise, I'm going to be just making a comment on this message, which is very, very interesting. And I recommend you to read it again. Message 159 from Our Daily Bread. And why did I like this part here is because we don't like a hard path. Everybody wants easy. All of us, it doesn't matter. I very much doubt, for example, that we would love a new car that instead of having a button to put the window up and down, to have that lever that we used to have on our cars to do this, to raise the... I bet no one would want to buy a car that had that. So we always want the easy way. We always want the easiest way. However, nature has a funny way of showing us that there are some stuff that if it changes,
It doesn't change very quickly. It takes a long time to change. We don't remember, at least the men here, that we spent 9 months inside the belly of a mother. But the two mothers here, they remember. Well, Thais was not 9 months, but I'm pretty sure Thais only like she was 6 to 7 months, right? When she was born. But I'm pretty sure that if you could turn back in time, you would have said, I'd rather have her in 9 months because you were very worried when she was born in 7 months. So it is 9 months, or what, how many weeks that is. And it doesn't change. And it has been like this for hundreds of thousands of years. But we always want the easy way. But nature, once again, gives us this sense of, hey, let's just think a little bit about it before we try to rush things out, because some things we cannot change it that quick. So when Jesus comes to us, he doesn't come to show us easy ways. He doesn't come to show us that there's like a shortcut to go through. He doesn't come to tell us, hey, I have a way here for you to have a baby in 1 month. That's not what he comes to do. He comes to us to say, and that's why I love what Emmanuel says, he does not come to deceive us. He does not come to show us, hey, there's this way that's much easier than this one, that's the right one. No. That's not what he does. He comes and says, hey, look, if I'm going to tell you something, maybe you will even think that I'm crazy because I'm going to tell you that's very, very hard to achieve what I want you to do. And I find that message to be so disturbing in certain levels that I find so weird that some people just think that going to the church or going to the Espírita centers solves all our problems. Actually, to my understanding, it brings much more troubles to our lives. If we really want to follow the message, I mean, if we don't want to follow the message, it doesn't matter where we go. It really doesn't matter. But if we want to follow the message, it's not like it would be better if we didn't go. If we just want to live, it would be better if we didn't go. Because just to cite an example, then I'm going to go to the text here. When he says, oh, to that guy that comes to talk to him, and I never good with numbers and memorizing passages and numbers of passages, and I know a few, but a lot of them I really don't know. The guy comes to him and says, hey, what do I do, master, to enter the kingdom of heaven? And he says, well, you know the commandments, you know the 10 commandments, yeah, I know those, and I do them all already. I follow all of them. And so that's good for you. So now there's just one more thing. One more thing. If you do all the others, it's perfect. But it's just one small thing that I need you to do for me. Go, gather everything that you have, sell it, take the money, and give the money to the poor. Then come back and follow me. We don't have news that that guy ever came back to talk to Jesus. So that passage is not what Jesus is asking of us. He's not asking of us to sell everything, give to the poor, and follow him. That's not what he's asking. He's asking, or he's telling us, that it is very hard to follow the message of the gospel. Because for each one of us is something different. To some of us, the problem might be money. To some of us, might not be money. Might be our clothes, might be the way I behave, might be whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. What Jesus is asking that guy specifically is, okay, you have this specific problem. I want you to solve that problem before you tell everybody that you are a follower. And this is a very, very troublesome, to me, very, very troublesome message. Because he doesn't want numbers. He doesn't want numbers. He doesn't want like 1 billion or 8 billion followers. That's not what he wants. He doesn't even want everybody to know his name. You know why? Because if we really believe, like in Spiritism, that it teaches us that this planet is not the only house that has people, that has spirits living. If there are other planets in the universe where there are people living, doesn't matter the shape. If it's a spirit, it's a spirit. They don't know Jesus because Jesus was born in this earth. So what is the matter with the name Jesus? What is the matter with the gospel, with the Bible, so that's not what he wants. That's why it is so hard to be a follower of him, or his follower, because it's not about him. It's not about what he wants. It's about the difficulty, or this idea that the gospel fools no one in the teachings. That there's a law that circulates in the universe that we need to learn how to follow it. Jesus is one of those people that came here to show us that way and say, hey, start doing this. And maybe one day you will get to understand the whole thing. But if you don't do this, it is very hard for us to get to a different level. That's why sometimes I come back to something that it never leaves my mind when I'm thinking about Jesus in that sense, in the sense of the gospel, in the message that he wants us to convey to ourselves, which is change, be a better person for the world, not for myself, but for the world. Be a part of the community of souls that need to help each other to get somewhere. Not to live our lives selfishly only for myself, but for others, for my family, for my friends, for those who are in more need than I am. To invite the poor and the lame. To do something about this world, for this world to become a better place. Why? And maybe that's one of the main problems that we face as humans, is that we still don't understand why we need to do these things. And to me, this message to invite the poor and the lame, to give without recompense or reward, depending on translations as well, that's what this message is about. I'm going to read, and I just put it there so that we have the whole text of Luke from chapter 14, 12 to 15, so that we have it there. It's not for reading the whole thing, but this part, I think it's very, very interesting. The part from the Bible itself, and this is once again one translation. There are other translations. The translation that's in some of the Gospel according to Spiritism are older translations, so it's a little different, but the idea is the same. So Jesus is at the house of a Pharisee for this whole chapter 14. We're only going to read from verses 12 to 15. So four items, right? 4 verses. 12, 13, 14, and 15. And then he is there talking to this Pharisee. And this Pharisee, he is a well-known person. He is a person that has some power. He is a person that has some, so he is receiving Jesus and receiving other people in his house too. And he's talking about these different things and so on. Then on this item, this verse number 12 for chapter 14, he says what is there. Just one more thing before we get to that point. It says right here in the Bible that he was going into the house of one of the main Pharisees, of one of the highest regarded Pharisees. So he was a religious man. He used to go to the temple. Doesn't see the Gospel of Luke doesn't tell us who that man was, but he goes to the point of saying, and he makes this very, very clear, that this person was a very important person. And this is interesting for us to know, to maybe even to see why Jesus is telling this to him. Jesus at one point then said to his host, when you give a luncheon or a dinner, Jesus is there to eat bread. Jesus is there to have a dinner. Jesus is there, like as we were in Fabricio's and Lucas's house, to have a brunch a few days ago, right? So, when you give a luncheon or a dinner, do not invite your friends, your brothers or sisters, your relatives, or your rich neighbors. If you do, they may invite you back, and so you will be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. One of those at the table with him heard this. He said to Jesus, blessed is the one who will eat at the feast in the kingdom of God. Look, see how hard, to me at least, how hard the message is. Jesus, as far as we can tell, knows what goes in the heart of man. When he looks at us, he looks at Adriana, he knows what's in her heart. If what she's thinking is true, if what she's laughing. I don't know what she's thinking. I cannot see it, but and in the beginning of these items, Luke also says that they wanted Jesus there to test him. So we can also think of this thing that Jesus is saying here as a response to that test that they wanted to, because he teaches what those people at that moment needed. And since we are very close to what the Pharisee was, all the teachings match us. So they're all for all of us. Because at this moment, I mean, I'm going to go back again to the beginning of this meeting. They ask, or he asks, if he can cure on Saturdays, because on Saturdays you couldn't do anything. You had to be just praying. You couldn't be doing anything. And he is the one that asks them, can I cure on a Saturday? Then he goes and does some stuff. So he's testing them. Although they invited him to test him, but he is testing them all. Like he's testing us. And then at one point he says, when you give a luncheon or dinner and he is there to eat, what is he telling those guys? He's telling probably something to the sorts of, okay, why are you inviting me? Why do you want me here? Because I don't see anybody here that cannot give you something back. Everybody that's here will have a way to give back to you. So why do you want me here? Because do you want something from me? Is that what you want? What do we do when, or what do we think? What is our feeling when we do something for another person? To me, that's mainly the main question, or basically the main question that Jesus is proposing us here. It's not about inviting, it's not about dinner, it's not about food, it's not about this. Is what is my intention when I am doing something? And it doesn't matter if it's something for one person, for a million people, for a group of people, for the city, it doesn't matter to what it is. The question is, what is my intention? Why do I want to do this? Why am I doing this? What is the point? What is the purpose? Because, and then he says, if you do, he says it right there. Let me see if I can mark this up, if this shows up or not. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Apparently, it's not working. Oh. It's right there, fourth line there. If you do, they may invite you back, and so you will be repaid. So, when I'm doing something with the idea that I'm getting something back, that's not more than, I'm not doing more than my obligation. It's like a work. I'm doing it and I'm being paid. What's the big deal about it? There's no big deal about it because everybody does it. So that's not the message of the gospel. The message of the gospel is not that. Because that's normal. That's how everything works. If I excavate the ground to look for water, and if there is water somewhere, I know that if I keep excavating, I'm going to get some water. It's going to give me back because I'm doing it. It's going to give me back. That's how. If I plant something and I do the right things, I'm going to get the plant to grow. If I eat, I'll survive. Or there's always this reciprocity. Why am I doing though? Am I doing just to get it back, or there's something else? There's something else hidden inside of me. As I was reading this and preparing to talk about this, I read this. I heard this guy talking about something that I had totally forgotten about it. I had studied a while ago and read a few things about it, but I had totally forgotten about it. And he pointed out in this text something that was very, very common in that time of Jesus, and not only at the time of Jesus, but before and after for a little while. That was called. We have the word. We have the word in English for it, of course, and it's we call it a patronage, right? So if we're going to do something, and we need a patron to pay for something, so we have a patron that pays for this, but when you you have someone that gives you money to do something, or he's like above you, and then he provides uh, um, provides money. He usually he wants something back. It's not uncommon that you don't want anything back. So you want like to make an advertisement of your company, an advertisement of what you do, so that you are recognized by, oh, I helped this person, or I helped this institution, I helped this or that, and then your name is there, your company's name is there. At this time of Jesus, this had already started. And this patronage was something that was very, very, very pervasive in society. And once you are under a certain person, because you got something from that person, it's like you have to give something back to her or to him when they ask, so if you're inviting, and we are seeing this here, if you're inviting people to your house to give food to them, what do you want from them? And that was something in the society. And the more people, or the richer you were, the more you would do for people, and then the more people would come back to you and thank you and give you more, and then maybe you would be elected again for your next term, and then it's this whole thing that you don't necessarily do the right thing. You do the thing because you owe someone something. Then if he needs you, you have to go there and help him or help her. But what if you give to someone who cannot give anything back to you? And that's the message here. So it's not about giving to someone that can give you back. And that's why, to me, it is so hard to sometimes to say sometimes, I would say all the time, why it is so hard to be a Christian at heart. Because we are still struggling. We're still having a very, very hard time to realize why we are doing these things. Because even like when we are spiritists, right? And sometimes we might think, oh, because we understand this, because we do things, and then we say, oh, my next life will be better because I'm doing it right now. Are we exchanging? Is that how it works? And that's not the idea. It needs to be, it will be a consequence, but it's not what I'm looking for. That's the big idea. And that's what it is very, very hard to achieve. Because if I give you something, to any of you, or if I receive something from you, I'm going to change the example. If I receive something from you guys, and I don't say thank you, what is the feeling that you guys have? Is the same that I have. Because that's the level that we are still. Because we are not doing for the pleasure of doing it. It is almost as if we are doing for the pleasure of being selfish, or being proud, or having this pride of, okay, I was able to do something for the other. It's not about being able to do something for the other. It's about giving back. And giving back does not expect you to thank me, or you to give me something back. No, because sometimes you can't. Not because you don't want to, but because you can't. So it is easier for us to understand when you give something to a person that doesn't have anything to give back to you, and then you are happy because you were able to help that person, because you the person cannot give you anything back. But if that person says one bad word about me, then that's it. I'm not helping that person anymore. What? And I'm not being a hypocrite here. I'm saying that I have the same feeling. I have the same feeling. That's why I said from the start, it is very hard to be a Christian at heart. It is very, very hard because all these ideas or these feelings are still inside of ourselves. We are expecting things all the time, all the time. And when we don't get it, we get frustrated because that person, oh, that's an ungrateful person. Yeah, and I have all the right of stopping not doing something for that person if she doesn't or if he doesn't thank me. I have all the right. But what that person did should not affect what I do. Because if it still does, it means that what she's doing or what he is doing is like hurting me. Meaning that, okay, that's good. That's good to know. It means that I still need to work on myself, not on the other person. If the other person is ungrateful, it's the problem for the other person. What does it teach me? It teaches me that I should not be ungrateful. And maybe because of that, what should I do when she doesn't thank me? I should thank the person back. Because she or he is being my teacher, showing me that I am wrong, that I still have stuff to get better at. So when I go into this circular thought of what Jesus is trying to teach us here, it makes me, it doesn't make me want to give up. That's not what I want to say. It doesn't make me want to give up, but it makes me realize that, hey, I still have a lot of steps to take to get to where I thought I was. Because sometimes I think I am at a certain level, and then all of a sudden I read this type of stuff. I study this type of stuff, and then someone says, well, one of the guys that I was listening to, he says, and he uses this example, and I find it interesting because I can clearly see where he lives. But he says, okay, so you get to your condominium, and then so when he says that, I mean, I don't live in a condominium, I don't live in a condo, so he lives in a condo probably, and he has an elevator where he lives because he used the example of an elevator. And so it is very interesting. And he says, and then you go into the elevator and the person is coming and the doors are closing. Then you jump to stop the door from closing. So the door opens, the guy enters, and the guy doesn't look at you. The guy doesn't say good morning. The guy doesn't say thank you. And you stop back and you say, why did I do that for this guy that doesn't even say thank you? And then he stops and says, you're probably feeling the same way that I felt. Next time, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to pretend that he is not there. I'm going to pretend that I didn't see him. And can I blame that guy? Can I say that he did something wrong? I mean, I can, but wouldn't I do the same thing though? It is very hard. It is very hard. So once again, when I think about what Jesus is trying to get us, to just stop and look, stop. Don't expect things from people. Don't expect things. You have to do it because you have to find a reason to do it. Because there will be times, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's the person that you love the most in this world. There will be a moment where you can be disappointed with that person. And because of that disappointment, you're going to stop doing something. So we have to have within a reason to do something. We cannot put our making of trying to make the best, trying to make my best, trying to be the best that I can be at a certain thing based on what other people are thinking or doing, or we cannot. Otherwise, we're just going to be doing what we're doing for work. I work and I receive and I get my money back. And if we don't jump, if we don't do a little bit more than this, we're going to be stuck on that level forever. Because that's where we stop. That's where we put our limits. That's why, and I was going to say it, but I didn't say it, so I'm going to say it now. That's why when I remember and when I think about Jesus, about his teachings, about what he wants us to achieve, he's not, like I think I said this a few weeks ago or a few months ago, but this is where I can jump. So I can jump up to this level. So I can jump up to this level right now. But Jesus doesn't put the bar here for me to jump. He puts the bar here. I would say that he puts it much higher. I'm just being like, but why? Because he knows that if I don't keep working at it, if I don't keep trying to go beyond what I think I can go, I will be stuck at the same level forever. If we don't push our kids to learn more stuff, they'll be stuck wherever they are. We have to make things interesting to them so that they can go and discover. They can go and be curious. We have to stimulate them to keep going, to keep going. That's what Jesus is trying to do to us, spiritually speaking. He's trying to invite us to say, hey, look, I know that you can do this. This is basic. This is basic. He's saying, it is fine. It is fine to give a luncheon or a dinner, to invite your friends and brothers and sisters. This is normal. This is fine. This is what we do all the time. And it is good because it's we want to have people that, share with us some ideas, the same ideas. We like to be around them. That's totally fine. But if we want to go to a different level, we have to do something else. We cannot be inviting only people that only agree with us with everything. We have to have these different types of interactions so that we can grow. And I'm not talking about, brothers, sisters, politics, religion, sports, or I'm not talking about, discussions or no, I'm talking about our lives. What can we do differently? And the motivation that we have to do something. So I am a grandfather now. Why do I want, or why do I like to be with my grandson? It is something that I have to think about. Do I want to be with him because he's going to give me something back? Because why? Why do I come to the Espírita Center? Why? Oh, is it because I like the ideas? Is it because I want to improve myself? Is it because I want to take the passes? Why is it? Why do I go to that church? Why do I like this hobby? Why? What is motivating me to be this being that I am? What reward am I expecting to get? Because if I'm expecting to get a reward here, or even if I'm expecting to get a reward after, like I said, it might be just that I'm doing whatever needs is normal. But if I'm doing because, and then we have to find this reason inside. I have this urge to do this. I have this motivation to do this. I have, and then I don't get anything back from it, but still I still want to do it because the pleasure of doing it, the love of doing it is what's motivating me. Keep doing it. Not because another person will say, you look good, or you did this good, or because, no. But before I finish, I want to look at this for 3 minutes from the other side. What is to look from the other side? To look from the other side is to look from the side of the person who is receiving now. I am receiving something from you guys right now. What am I receiving from you guys right now? I'm receiving your looks. I'm receiving your attention. I'm getting something from you guys. And at this very moment, I am thankful for what I'm receiving. And I try to be as thankful as I am. Because I know and I understand how hard it is not to get a thanks. So I try to be as thankful as I am for receiving whatever I am receiving. What am I trying to say with this? I'm trying to say with this is, it is not because we shouldn't expect a thank you. It is not because I shouldn't expect a thank you that I don't need a thank you. So I shouldn't be expecting a thank you from anybody because I should be doing because I want to do it. But once I do it, it is good to receive a thank you. So if I am in the position of receiving, the least that I can do is thank you. That's the minimum obligation. But if it's just from the mouth out, something is missing. Maybe the other person will not even know it. But I will not be thankful, truly. So being on the side of giving, I have to give without expecting nothing in return. But being on the side of receiving, I should be thanking, not only from the mouth out, but from the heart out. So it's one fails or fulfills the other. We don't need and we don't want to do something to get a thank you. That's not why we do it. Jesus didn't come here to get a thank you. But we should thank him all the time. That's the point. Because once we get something that changes us or that helps us, even though sometimes we don't know it, we should be thanking that person. Like I said, I did something for him or for her. She or he didn't say a thank you. It hurt me, so I thank him or her for letting me know that I'm still in my process of learning, that I still have to grow, that I still have to learn, that I still have to learn how to be thankful. So, Jesus, when he invites us to invite the poor and the lame and the ones who cannot give us back to us, he's not talking about food, or at least not the food that fills our belly. He's talking about other types of food as well. Not only that, but as well, so that we can really think about the whys. Why are we still expecting something in return for what we do? And it is, once again, it is not easy. It is not easy. And it's not easy to do this, and it is not easy to be a Christian at heart. So when people say, believe in Jesus and everything will be solved, it's not as easy as that, because it's not just the belief, it's much more. It's much, much, much more. But he is there to support us. He is always there to, if we fall, he is right by our side, but he makes us work. That's the thing. He makes us work. Let's do it. Let's do it. Thank you for your attention. I'm speaking like a robot right now. Thank you for being there, and thank you if there was anyone watching me and watching us here. Thank you for joining us. Like I said, this is our last meeting in English of this year, but we will come back next year with the following the sequence of the Gospel according to Spiritism. Before I finish, I'd just like to let everyone know that this weekend we're going to have our meeting in Portuguese on Saturday. This is our this next Saturday now. It's our Christmas party night. We're not going to do next week. We're going to do this week before. This next, what's the 16th, I guess. So that's next Saturday. So you're all invited to come to join us with our big, dinner that we're going to have here, and a celebration with everybody. I hope everything will be good. And as we always do, everything that we are able to gather on this specific night, then we because we sell the dinners, right? So all the money that we get from the dinner are going to be donated to an institution, be it here, be it in Brazil. But we donate the money, and we put some more money from all our donations from all throughout the year, so that the institution can get a little more. So that's it for Saturday. But just want to remind everyone that we're not going to close. I mean, I know that this year, the 25th, which is Christmas Day, is on a Monday. The first of the year is also on a Monday, but we're going to be open. We're going to be here. Probably, a lot of people cannot come, but the group will, the Spiritist group will be open. If no one shows up that are incarnated, the discarnated will be here too. So, but we will have our physical doors open. Adriana will be here on the New Year's Eve, and I'm going to be here on the 25th. So we're going to be open for the first of the year and for the 25th open. We try to never close unless there's a big emergency. And in this, I think this in these 21 years, I don't know how many times we closed. Probably because of snow. And that's it. Other than that, that's we're always open. Because whoever is here needs. And if there's one person here speaking, that's the person that's in need. Right? It's not so it's not about a lot more than this. So we are always in need. And I guess that's it. Are we gonna have passes after this, or? Yeah, okay. So let's do our final prayer. Once again, thank you guys for coming. Thank you for sticking with us on this English endeavor for the years. We hopefully one day will be able to say, hey, we finished the gospel according to Spiritism all in English here. It's a goal. It's one of the goals of the meeting, so that we can, increase vocabulary. We can think about Spiritism in English. Maybe someone comes to talk to us. We know a few more words. We know something here and there to try to explain if needed, and also to be even more responsible, because now we know the gospel in Portuguese, now in English. So what's the excuse now, right? So it's so yeah. So let's with these jokes aside, but with the happiness in our hearts and the joy in our souls, let's thank God, thank our dear Master Jesus for his thoughtful words, for his teachings, for his blessings to our lives, and asking him that in the end of the year now, as we approach the date that we celebrate his birthday, that we may let him grow within ourselves, that we may let Jesus be born within ourselves, so that we can carry Jesus with us all the time, not only in our minds, but in our hearts, in our smiles, in our embraces, in our friendships, and in the hard times too, because he, being with us, makes things a little more easy, or a little easier, or at least a little more enlightening to all of us. So Jesus, thank you very much for your blessings, for your presence, for your love, and for your care. And may this love follow us wherever we go, now and forever. So be it. So now we're going to the passes with Adriana, Nancy, and people around. And thank you once again.